So admit
Yeah, go
all. Here
ahead
we
and
go.
let people in.
Yep. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening of celebrating Juneteenth. We are so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Evelyn. I'm one of the organizers for this anti-racist conversations group, and I am just delighted that you are here. I saw a couple of our members actually join too. There's Melissa and Abby, and I see friends that I just met, friends that I don't know, and I am just absolutely delighted that you guys have chosen to spend this time with us. So tonight we're going to get started because we have like a really full, fun-packed agenda. Um, we're going to get started. And you know that the theme is remembering the delay, but celebrating the day. And we're looking forward to celebrating this time with you guys. We're going to showcase just snippets of remarkable inventions that have made a significant impact throughout the nation. And we're going to explore the links between music and the Black church, recognize contributions from Black women and men, and we're going to talk about the resilience of African American people. But we want to encourage you, though, to learn about African American history, slavery, Juneteenth, apart from this, because we're just giving you a little bit of a history and it's really broad. So just We want you to be there. You're going to have a chance to have a conversation with us, ask questions, make comments. We might have answers, we might not have answers, but we're glad you're here. So, to get started, I'll tell you a little bit about this group, Anti-Racist Conversations. We started 5 years ago today. So, this is our anniversary. And we started because of the murder of George Floyd. You know, we're gonna keep it real. And my granddaughters needed a place to vent, ask questions, and we were organized just for a month. And here we are 5 years later, and we're very excited that we're here. We're making a difference. We have conversations about good stuff. We talk about the facts. So we're excited about that. And tonight, as far as guidelines are concerned, because guidelines and rules are everywhere, right? We ask that you remain on mute. And I know that sometimes we want to just have a lot to say. We're anxious to say things, but we're going to be curious tonight. We're going to listen to understand and show respect. We're going to suspend judgment. And we're going to listen very carefully without interrupting when you do have an opportunity to talk. No cross talking and no criticism. We're going to be authentic and welcome that from everybody else. And if you're going to make a comment too on our event tonight, we ask that you make the comment about our event, not about something that's happening out there. We know the world is kind of messy right now, but we're celebrating tonight. So we don't want to bring that mess into here, just to keep it real. So, with that said, I would like to say thank you to my grandson, Logan, who's behind the scene, Mr. Technology. You know, he helps me with all that kind of stuff because he's in that younger generation. So I just want to say thank you to my grandson. And this event is scheduled for about 90 minutes. And we're going to try to keep it on point. But I'm just terribly excited that you guys are here. I see a lot of my friends too. I'm going to say this too. We just had a big event in DC, so I see some friends from that event too. I see Robin, and I saw Stella join. I'm not sure if anybody else joined too, but thank you guys so much for being here. Hi, Stella. Yeah, so very excited you guys are coming out to support this. And I saw Casey. Just for the record, I always say this too. Casey has been there since the beginning. She was there in 2020 when we organized, and here she is today celebrating with us. So thank you so much, Casey, for always showing up. Really appreciate you. So to keep it on track here, and I see Abby too. Abby is a newbie, but she shows up too. So thank you for being here, Abby. It is my honor now to introduce to you our spoken word artist. Met her in DC too, Tiffany Mishe Gray. Tiffany is the founder of the Multicultural Progressive South, a Tennessee chapter of Indivisible. And Tiffany is going to speak the facts. You know how you just kind of meet people and then you're just drawn to them? That was us. It's like we just had maybe 2 or 3 conversations and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she is absolutely dynamite. She's amazing, very personable, and she's from the South, which makes it even better. So, Tiffany, take it away. I think you just, yeah. Can you unmute? Okay,
Yes.
there you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you, Miss Evelyn. Hello, everyone. Juneteenth is a celebration of the end of chattel slavery in the United States. Notably, the commemorative date is not January 1st, 1863, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, but it's June 19th, 1865, the day that General Gordon Grange delivered the news of the end of the war and the proclamation of the last known populations to enslaved people in Galveston, Texas. The holiday is also referred to as Freedom Day in many Black communities, which I feel speaks to the tangible difference between communities. It took 2.5 years to actualize freedom from bondage for enslaved Black people in the Deep South, and 160 years later, there is still disagreement about which liberties and civil rights should accompany that freedom. Still, Juneteenth is a holiday that reminds us that laws are only as strong as our follow through and our enforcement of them. The proclamation in signing of legislation do not inherently change conditions for citizens if they are not informed about those changes, empowered by the law, and supported in practicing their legal rights. It is also a holiday that calls on us to remember that even as we work in our local communities, we are part of a larger national collective. It is a reminder that every person in the nation is deserving of the kind of time, attention, and political consideration it takes to personally deliver the news of freedom. This year, we have the opportunity to cultivate Juneteenth celebrations that help ground us in labor that is required to enforce freedom, invest us in bridging regional divides to foster democracy, and encourage us to celebrate the Black Southern history and community. We also have an opportunity and a responsibility to continue engaging with Black history in order to help us better understand the United States as a whole. This information is credited to the 1619 Education Project.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Let's move on and talk about the importance of the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. And let us march on to victory, march on to victory, march on till victory is
Thank you, Logan. And Tiffany, could you share a little bit of the history about that song?
Thank you. Of course, And the history of Lift Every Voice and Sing, often called the National Black Anthem, was written as a poem by the NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson and then set to music by his brother, John Rosamond Johnson, in 1899. It was first performed in public in the Johnsons' home of Jacksonville, Florida, as part of a celebration of Lincoln's birthday on February 12, 1900, by a choir of 500 schoolchildren at the segregated Stanton School where James Weldon Johnson was principal.
Thank you, Tiffany. So now back to you, audience. I want to know, what did you hear? What did you think? What did you feel when Tiffany was reading about the history, the brief history of Juneteenth, and what did you hear, feel, think about when you heard the song? And you're welcome to raise your hand, and we can get you off mute to respond. What thoughts crossed your mind? Do you have all the answers? Did you already know all this information?
I don't mind starting the conversation because it gave me chills, Miss Evelyn. It really did, to think about how far we've come as a people towards our path of freedom and citizenship, and it just really made me grateful. And then I start to understand that freedom and the struggle for civil rights is not something that happens in a brief period of time. It's something that takes decades, and I'm really grateful that we've made it to the other side of that.
That's right. Thank you, Tiffany. And I
Yeah.
see Janae Barrett has her hand raised. Janae.
There we go. Mute.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for presenting us this and letting us share this with you. And I have read this information, and I don't really have any questions, but it just so strong. Just thank you for sharing this with us. It's deep.
Thank you, Janae. Really appreciate that. Yeah, and I'll share a little bit about mine too. I grew up singing that song. I learned that song when I was in school, a couple of years ago, as a 5-year-old. So it's pretty near and dear to me, And I was all in an all black school growing up, so the history of Juneteenth was something that we just did. I was telling my grandson recently. I just remember on a day like this in Texas, we would, that would be the church service first, and then we would, that would just be, we were always on a hill with a food. I don't know why we were always on a hill, but I just remember as a little girl, I'm not very tall, but I was just, pretty short, and just getting my plate full, eating a lot of food, and just running down the hill to play with my friends. And then we got tired, we go back up on the hill to get more food. And there was always red soda pop. We called it soda water in Texas, and always something red, always something green. And it was always symbolic of Africa, of the flag. But the memories, when I was even putting this program together today, the memories are just outstanding, and it was rich. So many people came and brought food. I can see it now, just lined up. And I went to everybody's. We had, like, the food was in wash tubs. If you guys know what wash tubs are, we didn't have the fancy stuff that we have today. They were in wash tubs. The bottoms were covered with the sheets or whatever, and oh my gosh, like ribs and chicken and whatever people wanted to cook, greens, black eyed peas, cornbread, sweet potato pie, apple pie, pound cakes, everything you wanted to eat. So we were filled to the max. But it was just so rich because people came that we didn't know. And that's the way we celebrated. And it was just the memory I will never forget. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Does anyone else want to comment? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, I see Stella.
Hi, I love, thank you for sharing your memories. And I guess I just wanted to ask you, are you still cooking a lot and doing kind of doing the same things with your family now here in Illinois that you
I
did
don't
growing up?
we don't have a hill that I can run down to, Stella. We don't have a hill, but I did make the food. We had ribs today, we had cornbread, we had sweet potatoes, potato pie. I'm sorry, sweet potatoes and potato salad and cabbage. We had all that, yeah. And so we might have a little bit more. The today's we just celebrate today. We'll have a little bit more on Sunday also. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it was almost like yesterday. This is the deal. This is how it works. So, my grandson, who's behind the scene right now, he didn't ask me if I was going to cook because he knew I was going to cook. He asked me if one of his friends could come over. Yeah. So,
Mm.
anyway, that's just the way it goes. And I said, fine with me. That's the way we celebrate. Invite your friends. Okay.
And if I could chime in on that, I attend an African American museum type of church, and every year they have a Juneteenth celebration. They have one going on right now, just like Miss Evelyn is talking about. Tons of food. They're gonna have dinner first, and then like a history program similar to what we're having today. It's a very common tradition in the Black community.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, I think we're going to move on to the next part. Thank you guys for commenting and asking questions and celebrating with us. Okay, so Tiffany, the Black church had an incredible presence in helping African Americans before Juneteenth and afterwards. Could you share just a few facts about that with us?
Absolutely, Miss Evelyn. For Black Americans, Juneteenth represents a moment of liberation and hope. It is a day to celebrate their ancestors' resilience, courage, and perseverance in the face of oppression. The Black church played a pivotal role in the struggle for freedom, serving as a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change. The Black church was more than just a place of worship, it was a center of community life. During slavery, enslaved Africans used religious gatherings as a way to connect with each other, express their faith, and forge a sense of belonging. They drew strength from their stories of Moses leading his people out of bondage and of Jesus' message of freedom and equality. After emancipation, the Black church continued to play a vital role in African American life. It provided a space for political organizing, education, and social support. Black churches founded schools, universities, and community centers that served as a vital resource for African Americans, particularly in the South. Today, the Black church remains an essential institution in Black American life. It provides that sense of community, spiritual guidance, and social activism. On Juneteenth, many Black churches conduct special services and events, like we mentioned, to commemorate the day and reflect on its significance. We use this occasion to honor the legacy of our ancestors and renew our commitment to the ongoing struggle for freedom and equality. In conclusion, the Black church played a vital role in the struggle for freedom, and it continues to be an essential institution in Black community life. On Juneteenth, we remember the role of faith in the fight for justice and equality and honor the legacy of our ancestors. This information is credited to Emmanuel Walker.
Thank you, Tiffany. So, Logan, if you'll cue up that next song, we're going to go right into a bit more music and you guys get a bit more history about the music.
This has been an awesome night, hasn't everyone? This one. How many of you like Negro spirituals? An old black lady down south showed me something about the Negro spirituals, and I want to share it with you. You know, the black folk down south had more sense by accident than some of us have on purpose. You know what I mean? You didn't hear what I said. I heard an old black lady say, "Son, if the mountain was smooth, you couldn't climb it." Think about that for a minute. But did you know, she said to me, did you know just about all Negro spirituals are written on the black notes of the piano? This is absolutely true. You can go home tonight and play almost any Negro spiritual, just play the black notes on the piano. You look skeptical. Now, you can't see it out there, but I want you to watch. Watch. There are 5 black notes on the piano. And those same 5 black notes just keep recurring. And you can go home tonight and play almost any Negro spiritual. Just play the black notes. Watch. You know that? Every time I feel the spirit. Just black notes. Watch this. That's because the slaves didn't come to America with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's somebody else's scale, okay? All they had in their musical scale were those 5 black notes. We know it in music as the pentatonic scale. And they built the power and pathos of the Negro spiritual on 5 notes. When you study music, you also come across what are known as white spirituals. Did you know that? And they are white composers who work with that scale. In early America, they used to call this the slave scale. And I'm going to play for you what some musicologists think is the most famous white spiritual built on the slave scale or just the black notes. Anybody tonight know who wrote that song? I heard it, a man by the name of John Newton. But do you know what John Newton did before he became a Christian? He was the captain of a slave ship. And many believe heard this melody that sounds very much like a West African sorrow chant and wrote the words Amazing Grace and set his words to a slave melody. I looked up that song. I believe God wanted that song written just the way it was written, just so that we would be reminded that as Christians, whether black or white, free or bond, in his eyes, we're all connected. We are connected, and we are connected by God's amazing grace. Hallelujah! We are connected by God's amazing grace. Woo! I looked up that song in the Library of Congress. I went to the Library of Congress, I looked up that song, and wherever you see it authentically printed, you know what it says? Words, John Newton, melody, unknown. I tell the Lord, when I get to heaven, I want to meet Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, but boy, I want to meet that slave called unknown. And I recorded that song the way I hear it. When I sing it, I still hear the sounds of the slave ships in the water. I want to sing it for you the way John Newton probably first heard it, coming up out of the belly of the ship. Listen. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've known less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that, Logan. Let's talk. What's on your mind? What are your thoughts? Something, there's some kind of emotion going on there. I know it has to be. What are you thinking? The black keys on the piano, the slave ship, Amazing Grace. Maybe you don't fully understand that, but you have some thoughts going on. What are they? Okay, I see Tiffany. Tiffany, take it away. Oops. There we go. Oops. It's not allowing me to. There you go. I think. Try it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps muting and unmuting me. Yes, I think that's so ingenious that they use like the black keys only. Like that's a poem within itself, in order to create such, and especially as someone who you used to play the piano, and I tend to play on the black keys. I don't know why, I just tend to do it. So to know that that was a thing. And then also, I think it's so beautiful the way that he sang and brought back in the sounds of, African sounds. It actually felt like church for a second there. I got confused and forgot I was on the internet. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, Lily, I see Janae and then Lily and then Janae. If you guys can unmute. Oops.
I keep asking for captions.
Oh, I wasn't sure what you were asking for. I'll see if I can get those set up. I'm not real sure if I can, Lily. I'll do my best. I don't think we're going to be able to accommodate that. Yeah, I apologize, but we're not going to be able to accommodate. Okay. Janae?
Yes, once again, I tend to be a person that comes from feeling with this more than my head, even though I'm a brain on legs, I would like to put it. I think that, well, first of all, when you were talking about the Black church, I was wondering how it might have incorporated what the people came over with when they came, their traditions, their because they had their gods and everything. And I'm wondering how that blended into the Black church. And then the song is always part of the Black church. And I think the people from Africa who are going with they just know how to go with their gut. They're not, I mean, they're smart, but they're not brains. They're really close to the earth. And I think that they just went with the sounds that come out of them. And for that man to hear that sound and know how powerful it was, I had read that he was a captain on a slave ship or something. So I'd heard that. But, you can just imagine the epiphany he had. If you put yourself in the shoes of these people, which I'm sure I'm not sure about anything, but what you've done is just so amazing the way it plays out. And like I said, I think the people, and that's all. Well, I can't speak from anybody else's experience, but I feel like there's a deep gut connection to earth and heart and gut and being one with the earth, and that comes through. And that's what I feel. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your perspective. We appreciate that. Okay, anyone else before we move on? Okay, Melissa.
Okay. I think the thing that first of all, I always learn something new, which always, the thing that I connect with the most is realizing the more I learn, the more I need to learn, which is good, but also frustrating. Like, why don't I already know this?
Mhm.
Like I had no idea about, I'm not a musical person, so I had no idea about the musical keys. Uh, but anyway, it is a constant reminder that I always need to be on a quest of learning, and I can't depend on anybody or any system to make that happen. I need to be an active participant in that. And
Mhm.
I appreciate this time to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Casey. Oops.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Hi there. This idea keeps coming back to me in so many ways lately, but this idea of like holding two opposite feelings or things at the same time. And that's kind of what I thought while we were listening to that. Just on one hand, so sickening that the song was stolen and, this slave ship captain gets the credit for writing it. And then also just so beautiful and powerful and inspiring and hopeful and sad and these kind of opposite things. But it was awesome. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, Stacy.
Good evening. Hi, Evelyn. Great to
Hi.
see you again.
Too.
I'm a little underdressed for the occasion, but I think the thing that stands out most to me about that last video is I know for me, music is very healing, and depending on what my mood is, that will determine what my soul needs that day. And I'm not a religious person, I'm not a Christian, but that song just always makes you feel a certain kind of way. And I think what I got from that, from learning about the origins of that music itself, is that it came from someone's humanity. Like I try to think about what those people felt when they were being brought over here and those sounds coming from them. And I think maybe that's why we connect to it so much, why it resonates with us, because it's that connection of humanity that we feel from that music. So thank you. I loved learning that.
Thank you. Really appreciate you guys, your perspectives, and just sharing with us in this journey. Yeah, music is a very important part of, I think, everyone's culture. That's that universal language, isn't it? And we all resonate with some kind of sound of music. So we're going to continue our discussion on music and help you learn a little bit more about how slaves communicated through music. Tiffany, could we transition now and talk about that part of it?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Awesome. Okay, give me just one moment. Okay, and Miss Evelyn, the song that we just listened to, that was Amazing Grace, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Got it. Well, music is an intrinsic part of human existence. It helps us process our experiences and emotions. It connects us to our surroundings. It introduces us to the ideas and cultures of others. And the best music increases our longing for the wonder that is God, even when we don't know it or believe it. When the stolen peoples of Africa were denied the ability to speak their native languages or to practice cultural traditions and were torn away from their land and people they love, how did they survive? How did they endure? Those answers can be found in part within the art form that emerged beyond the bounds of captivity, the spiritual, more commonly referred to as the Negro spiritual. These songs are stories of survival. Spirituals originated with no fixed text. They were improvised and learned by rote or without written lyrics due to strict restrictions on reading and writing. It wasn't until after emancipation that some of the well over 6,000 spirituals were documented and printed. There are different classifications of spirituals. Some are classified as coded, call and response, or anguish laments. Still Away to Jesus, for example, is a coded song. An interesting fact about many African American spirituals like Still Away is that they often carried a double meaning. In addition to being powerful songs of faith, they contain coded clues and practical hints as to how people, when they were ready, should make their break for freedom. For example, in Still Away, the singer describes the signs. Green trees are bending, and he calls me by the thunder. These phrases reminded the slave that it was during spring thunderstorms that he or she should make their escape. Be ready to go. There's no time to wait. Still away to Jesus, because that is where we belong. That is where new life is found, and that is where wounded and grieving hearts are made whole.
So we ask you that. So listen to this song, if you don't mind.
Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. My Lord, He calls me. He calls me by the thunder. A trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here.
Green trees are bending, poor sinners stand trembling. The trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal away, steal
trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. I ain't got long to stay here.
Thanks, Logan. So back to the audience now. Do you have any lingering thoughts in your mind about the information that Tiffany shared with you and about how, and the song that you heard? And to me, there's a lingering. Do you have any lingerings in your mind right now after you've heard that information? Are you able to kind of like empathize with the people? You kind of feel what maybe they were feeling? Okay, Dr. Val. Just a second, I'm going to unmute you. Oops. I'm not sure if it's on your side, but I'm not able to unmute you on my side, seemingly. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
As an immigrant from Haiti, the whole history of the revolution, before the revolution, the way the slave organized themselves is by song. While they're on the plantation working, they be singing different songs, and each song is a message. How they're going to organize, where they're going to meet, what they're going to do. But the master there don't understand it. Furthermore, when they start fighting, they use drum as a mean of communication. From far away, they organize like in series, like from point A, the drum beat, from point B, the drum may repeat, another drum repeats the same thing till they send message where they send, where they want to send it. And that's why the white men, the colons, the planters, they confused, they don't know how they organize it, how they could be so effectively get together on the X place or Y place to fight them. That's what I want to say.
That's amazing. Very similar to how the slaves organized in the United States also. And like Tiffany said earlier, was all coded.
Yes.
And because they weren't allowed to talk, you can visualize a cotton field. And there's like the rows are very long. And so what the people did in the United States is like the messenger at the top of the cotton row
Mm-hmm.
would it's almost like a chain reaction, a chain effect. And the song just kept going on and on and on. But they knew what they were talking about. And the thing that they understood also is that with their music and the codes they were using, the slave owners were unaware. And
Yes.
that was quite intellectual, actually, quite intelligent on their part. And because of that, just the song, you're going to have to go in the rain. This is not going to be an easy journey to escape slavery. But if you want to escape slavery, you're going to have to do it this way. And you're going to hear a bit more about that in a few minutes through information that Tiffany's going to share with you. But thank you, Dr. Val. Anyone else want to make a comment on this part? Okay, moving right along then. So Tiffany, if we can move on now to Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. It's both a call and response, and it's a coded song also. So could you give us a few facts about that song?
Absolutely. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot refers to Ripley, a station of the Underground Railroad where slaves were welcome. This town is on a hill by the Ohio River, which is not easy to cross. So, to reach this place, slaves had to wait for help to come from the hill. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is a renowned call and response song in which the preacher or leader sings the first line and then the congregation responds. When a slave heard this tune, usually as they worked in the fields, they would be prepared for the big escape. The song talks about an angel band that takes the slaves to freedom. Let's listen to a version of the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Carry me home. Home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Well, I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels, they're coming after me. Coming for to carry me home. Oh, swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Well, if you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell all my brothers I'm coming there too, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home.
Beautiful. So next, the spiritual Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child that we'll be exploring. It's a song of anguish. A very painful history gave rise to this spiritual. It's about slaves who had been uprooted from their motherland of Africa and were now far from home. It also speaks of the devastation of a child being ripped from his or her parents and sold away in slave auctions. The mournful cry of this spiritual is not just a song, not just a tune to entertain or to pass time. It is a sigh from the heart, an exhaling of the soul, giving expression to the deepest grief of a mother or a child can know. And the grief is not just over the separation, but also over the fact that it was inflicted by someone who knew no pity, someone who disregarded humanity and the pain they heard. In summation, what started as a way to bolster spirits and provide hope and strength also became an intricate and innovative way to communicate secretly. Songs became so elaborate and descriptive that they could provide exact directions on how to escape to freedom. Music may not have the same urgent importance to African Americans today as it did during enslavement, but the old songs still tie us together, reminding us of what once was and pointing us to what is to come. So, next, we're going to be hearing the song Motherless Child by Mahalia Jackson.
Now, in a special tribute to the gospel and spiritual songs of America, one of its greatest singers, Mahalia Jackson.
Sometimes I feel like a mother leaves shine. I'm alone from my home. Oh, Lord, I'm alone from my home. Through believing I'm alone, long way from my home.
You can stop it now,
Pistol
Logan.
battle
This
of
is a different
Jericho.
song. Thank you. That's a great one too. Yeah. Okay, Beth, I was looking right at you when we were getting ready to play Mahalia Jackson. Your hands went up. What's that all about, Beth?
I just remember, when I first became aware of her, she was on commercials back in, what was it, the 80s, where you could send for LPs, to get her. I didn't really appreciate the way she sings until it was by accident. I got to sing in a gospel choir. And it just happened when I was working at a government agency, and we had a volunteer choir for Christmas, and it was so good when we got a gospel director that the board members would not let us quit and say, you have to stay together and we want you to come back and perform. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot being in that choir. I feel nostalgic about it because, the choirs that I'm in now are not, not the same.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to make a comment before we move on to the last part? We're getting closer to the end. Any other comments? Okay, then. If not, then Tiffany, you know what? We remember the delay and we celebrate the day and all of these historical moments. And Tiffany, today, we as Black women are all over the fabrics of this country. It just
Yes,
is. Let's tell that story.
yes, ma'am. And there is a story to be told about Black women and the political climate. Black women have a long tradition of creating their own spaces where they can show up as a whole person and not just as a woman or just as a Black person. Starting in the late 1800s, Black women formed activist clubs, mutual benefit societies, settlement houses, and schools to address lynching, health, sanitation, education, and women's suffrage, combating racism and racial uplift. Early Black women's clubs included the National Association of Colored Women, the Neighborhood Union, the National League for the Protection of Colored Women, and the National Council of Negro Women. In response to the exclusion of Black women's interest in the feminist movement, Black women continued to create their own spaces throughout the 20th century. Notable spaces include the Women's Political Council, the Combahee River Collective, the National Black Feminist Organization, the National Congress of Black Women, and African American Women for Reproductive Freedom. This information is credited to Black women, a history of creating our own spaces. Next, we're going to be hearing Lifting as We Climb, narrated by Henry Louis Gates. Black women lead the movement.
Black women began organizing to force our country to live up to its ideals from the time of its founding. During Reconstruction, a new generation picked up the mantle, expanded their mission, and by the last decade of the century, their well-known slogan captured the communal spirit of the Women's Club movement, lifting as we climb.
By the end of the 19th century, African American women, as part of the club movement, were fighting against all of the injustices that African Americans were experiencing. But one of the most important issues that they worked on was anti-lynching.
In the 1890s, the pioneering investigative journalist Ida B. Wells lectured widely through the British Isles, shining a light on the horrifying injustices that Black Americans were suffering under Jim Crow.
There were prominent men who opposed what she did. A woman talking so frankly, they thought it was unfeminine, they thought it was problematic. And so when she was getting flack from men, it was the women's clubs that did support her.
In 1895, club women were further spurred into action when Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin received word from the secretary of the London Anti-Lynching Committee. She had received a letter from a white male journalist containing a scathing attack on the virtues of Black women. In response to Ruffin's call to action, Black women held a national conference in Boston. The following year, the National Association of Colored Women was founded with a new objective: defending the honor and the dignity of Black womanhood.
There's a lot of emphasis on ideals of womanhood that are really a response to the general degradation that Black women experienced since slavery and the depiction of Black women as lascivious and licentious. So you see lots of women who are activists sharing a notion of Black womanhood that is respectable, that is decent, that is self-respecting.
By 1920, Black women in the club movement focused on almost every area that touched upon people's lives, from housing to voting to discrimination, and leaders such as Mary Church Terrell, Fannie Berry Williams, and Mary McLeod Bethune became very active in the political arena, fighting for social justice and civil rights.
So many of the women that you find in the late 19th and early 20th century who really emerge as leaders in the Black community are coming together in order to think about how to move forward, setting the tone for what will be institutional life for Black people for the coming century.
Okay, so you have a snippet of history. We want you to continue learning about that process on your own. So at this time, Tiffany, can we transition now to Katherine Johnson?
Absolutely. Miss Katherine Johnson made the most of limited educational opportunities for African Americans, graduating from college at the age of 18. She began working in aeronautics as a computer in 1952, and after the formation of NASA, she performed the calculations that sent astronauts into orbit in the early 1960s and to the moon in 1969. Johnson was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015 and saw her story brought to light through a book and a feature film that we know as Hidden Figures the following year. She passed away on February 24th, 2020, at the age of 101. Let's take a look at a clip from the film Hidden Figures: No More Colored Bathrooms, No More White Bathrooms.
Where the hell have you been? Everywhere I look, you're not where I need you to be. It's not my imagination. Now, where the hell do you go every day?
To the bathroom, sir.
To the bathroom. To the damn bathroom. For 40 minutes a day? What are you doing there? We're T-minus 0 here. I put a lot of faith in you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform, skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colored enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch. So, excuse me if I have to go to the restroom a few times a day.
There you have it. No more colored restrooms. No more white restrooms. Just plain old toilets. Go wherever you damn well please. Preferably closer to your desk.
So, there's
Beautiful. Next, we're going to talk about Nicole Hannah Jones, an investigative journalist known for her coverage of civil rights in the United States. She joined the New York Times as a staff writer in April 2015, was awarded a MacArthur Fellowship in 2017, and won the Pulitzer Prize for Commentary in 2020 for her work on the 1619 Project. Hannah Jones is the inaugural Knight Chair in Race and Journalism at the Howard University School of Communication, where she also founded the Center for Journalism and Democracy. As we prepare to conclude our Juneteenth remembrances and celebrations, let us not forget that African Americans have contributed to and built so much of the United States of America. The following clip focuses on many unpaid Black labor built this country.
some people out there getting upset whenever we say Black labor built this country. But we're not making anything up, guys. These are facts. And we're about to present you with the historical receipts. In case you missed it, this is what we mean when we say we built this. Here's a quick history lesson for y'all. The first slaves were brought to the U.S. in 1619. Their job was simple: to make white settlers money. Slaves grew tobacco, rice, and indigo on the plantations of the southern coast. Now, fast forward to the late 18th century, cotton was king, and the U.S. was making stacks of cash on it, especially with all that free labor. Over 600 million, or just about half of the country's economic activity in 1836, came directly or indirectly from cotton. Cotton-producing slaves were just 6% of the population, but created almost half of 1 year's economic activity. We spoke with Professor Edward Baptist, the author of The Half Has Never Been Told.
That 6% figure is specifically the enslaved Africans and African Americans who were in the cotton producing regions. We're looking at like South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana.
Talk about being critical to a nation's economy.
I guess you can imagine some sort of science fiction world where this didn't happen, but this is what did happen. Slave labor built the U.S.
And their contributions weren't limited to the South. A little bit north in D.C., there's the White House. We built that.
I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves.
If you doubt our forever First Lady's words, the White House Historical Association spells it out pretty plainly. Planners turned to African Americans, both enslaved and free, to provide the bulk of the labor that built the White House, the United States Capitol, and other early government buildings. This country's financial center, we built that too. Wall Street earned its name because enslaved Africans built a wall to protect Dutch settlers from raids in 1653. This wall ran from river to river. Slaves built the roads, the docks, and most of the big-time buildings in the area that would soon become New York City. And railroads, slaves did that. North America's 4 major rail networks all own lines that were built and operated with slave labor. Before the Civil War, nearly every rail line east of the Mississippi River and south of the Mason-Dixon line was constructed or run at least partly by slaves. You know what else we built? What about that great American music genre? Yes, rock and roll. We built that too. And blues, and jazz, and hip hop, and pop. America's favorite snack food, that was the black guy behind the potato chip. The ironing board, a sister. The traffic light, yep, he was black. The super soaker, that was a dude named Lonnie. He's black too. And the person who invented the technology responsible for the caller ID and call waiting, her name is Dr. Shirley Jackson. And yes, she's black. Clearly, there isn't enough time to go through all the ways black people have built this country. They're vast. Don't get it twisted. Native American and many immigrant communities have made tremendous contributions to the infrastructure, identity, and imagination of the U.S. as well. So when we say we built this country, we actually mean it.
What's up? I'm PJ with The Root. We want to bring you more series and videos like this, and we need your help. Let us know what you thought below and subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
Okay, well, thank you, Logan. Well, audience, friends, members, it's time to talk again. There was a lot that we shared with you. What did you take in? We're almost to the end, but maybe you have something you want to say. What do you think about Katherine Johnson and the impact that she made just because she spoke up? Oh, I see hands. Okay. I think it's Ari Goodman, and then Robin, and then Janae. Okay. So Robin, Ari, if you go first, that would be great. I'll do my best to unmute you correctly. There you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. I apologize for not being on screen. I am not camera ready, but I wanted to say that I appreciate very much this program, and I'm sorry I missed the first few minutes. My comment was regarding Ms. Johnson and Hidden Figures. If you do a Google search, you'll see that the Kevin Costner character did not exist. They made him up for I guess fictional or storyline purposes, kind of whitewashing that part of history, but the women themselves were responsible for desegregating the bathrooms. So if you do a search on that, I thought that was quite interesting to hear the director admit that he didn't see the harm in allowing somebody else to take credit for that.
Yeah, thank you. Janae, I think you're next. All right, there you go.
Unmute.
Mhm.
Okay. These women that were so courageous for these clubs, but the women that were going out and anti-lynching, how courageous is that? You know, frustrated and courageous. So that's amazing in one way, because it's like such courage. But then on the other hand, how could you stand that? And then I always just wonder when they're playing the national anthem, it's like not hasn't been true for everybody. And that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Janae. Stella.
I just wanted to say that thank you for sharing all of this with us, and that I really wish that we could change the way we teach our curriculum for K through 12 all across the country, because this is something that we should all know and not be just learning in these, because people are generous and doing the hard work of teaching us, but it should be something that we all learn. And not just in history, but in literature, in music, in art, in all of the different fields. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. I think that's the last person. Unless Ari want to say something else, your hand is still up. Okay, so we're just really right at the end, and what I would like to say for all of you guys is thank you so much for showing up. And you stayed, and this was all new information and maybe a little bit uncomfortable for some of you. And that was certainly not the intent. The intent was to bring educational history about slavery and Juneteenth. So yeah, I think we accomplished our goal, and we appreciate that you were part of that process. Absolutely powerful.
Well,
So
thank you.
Take it away.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you, Miss Evelyn, so much for having me. And also, I would like to say before I go into this poem that I have never been to a Juneteenth celebration that wasn't 100% Black, or at least 99%. So I find this beautiful to be in a multicultural space where others are even care to listen. So hats off to all of you for sticking around and for having this anti-racist conversation. So Miss Evelyn really liked my quote, and it is a quote by Marianne Williamson about our deepest fears. So I tried to create a poem based on that for Juneteenth, and it is called Our Deepest Fear is Excellence. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, incapable of joining together like our ancestors to fight for rights over decades that can be dismantled by those with impure intentions. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, armed with education and knowledge of pasts we won't allow to repeat themselves. Knowing we outnumber the opposition, we swallow anger and present ourselves peaceful. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? The times need us to be bright and filled with hope, to lead and show others when all seems lost how to cope with action. Be bold and show the world your deepest passions. Organize with excellence, knowing that it's possible. If a Sojourner Truth can free hundreds of slaves before the internet was invented and the message was delivered precisely, then how can we as free citizens suppress our greatness? It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Thank you all so much for sharing space with me. Again, I'm Tiffany Mishe Gray with the Multicultural Progressive South.